What's up, YouTube? Team Movies here with Rambo once again coming back to theaters tomorrow. I decided to do my top 10 favorite action movie franchises. Now I do love me a good action film, and it's always cool to see when an action movie comes around. There's like sequels that follows, and there are some. Usually there are some good sequels and some not so good sequels. But anyway, with that being said, here's my 10 favorite action movie franchises. All right, coming in at number 10, I'm going with the Taken franchise. Lots of people will probably disagree with me on this one, but I frankly don't care what anyone says. The, I really don't care what anyone says. The Taken movie's awesome. Of course, it started with Liam Neeson, whose daughter ends up getting taken. Of course, the daughter is played by Matt Grace, and he has to travel, find out the people responsible and all that. So then we had the sequel about 2 years, couple years after, called Taken 2, where this time around, where both Brian Mills and his wife ends up getting taken, and of course you got Maggie Grace who's trying to throw grenades, which that girl cannot throw grenades to save her life. I love me some Maggie Grace, but yeah, she needs to learn how to throw grenades better. But I really got a kick out of Take Two. I really found Take Two to be fun. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first film. I still prefer the first film over Take Two and Take Three. But I still got a kick out of Take Two. I mean, this time around you got this actor named Rade Serbezija who is who's the father of the villain from the first film that Brian ended up killing. So he's pretty much taking Brian after for revenge. And so now you got then in 2015 you ended up having Taken 3, where this time around you had ex-operative Brian Mills, once again played by Liam Neeson, and his ex-wife Leonor, played by Famke Janssen, who's trying to enjoy the it's pretty much like enjoying a relaxation and all. And so, Famke Janssen's character, Lenore, ends up, getting killed. And so in the third one, it's pretty much Brian who's being framed for the murder. So it's kind of like The Fugitive in a way, similar to that. And so you had Forrest Whitaker as the police detective who's trying to track down Brian, and Brian trying to clear his name and all. I really got kicked out of Taken 3. I think between Taken 2 and Taken 3, I quite enjoyed Taken 3 slightly more than Part 2. Once again, you also had Maggie Grace once again back as the daughter Kim. Forrest Whitaker was pretty great in this. I really got kicked out of Taken 3 and Taken 2. And I'm if they announce that they'll make a Taken 4, I'll be down for a fourth one. I'll let you see another Taken movie. And Liam Neeson, let's be for real, that guy is, Liam Neeson is about in his 70s or 60s, I believe. That guy still does action really well. Whether you talk about his non-Taken films, whether it's Run Our Night, Non-Stop, The Commuter, Cold Pursuit, Liam Neeson is just a man with action movies. So, anyway, coming in at number 9 is the Indiana Jones franchise. Now, of course, Indiana Jones started with Raiders of the Lost Ark, and all of them were directed by Spielberg. And Raiders of the Lost Ark is probably the best out of all of them, obviously. I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark is... Raiders of the Lost Ark is really iconic. It has some of the most iconic moments in movie history. And Indiana Jones is one of the most memorable movie characters there is. And Harrison Ford, he of course played the role about 3 more times, and supposedly they're supposed to be doing a 5th one in 2021, but I'll believe that when I see it. But yeah, and of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark was followed up by by Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and the third one was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which of course introduced us to Sean Connery as in these Henry Jones. There's that, and of course we also had the last one, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I know lots of people trash on that movie so much. I still contend Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a pretty bad Indiana Jones movie. But if you just call this movie something else, like The Adventure of, I don't know, The Adventure of something, whatever, it would be a better movie if it was a different title. But as an Indiana Jones movie, it's kind of a bad Indiana Jones film. But that aside, I still got a kick out of King of Crystal Skull. You had Shia LaBeouf as Indy's son. You had Kate Blanchett in this. I mean, I really got kicked out of Crystal Skull, and I'm still hoping we get a fifth one. But yeah, I mean, they've been talking about a fifth movie for like God knows how long. So I'll believe that when I see it. All right, coming in at number 8 is going to the Mission Impossible franchise. I mean, you had, of course, the first Mission Impossible movie, which was based on a classic TV show, and it was directed by Scarface director Brian De Palma, and you had Tom Cruise as like the government operative, Ethan Hunt, who's like a pretty cool operative spy. You had John Voight as his like mentor here. You had Ving Rhames, Gene Reno in the first film. Then, of course, we got around to Mission Impossible 2, which was directed by Face Off director John Hughes, which I think out of all the Mission Impossible franchise, Part 2 is actually the weakest one in my opinion. But I still got kicked out of Mission Impossible 2. It was okay. I mean, John Woo's one of the most iconic action directors there is, and he did it. The action sequences in Mission Impossible 2 were pretty cool. And not to mention Mission Impossible 3 is I really quite like Mission Impossible 3. The late great Philip Seymour Hoffman was the main bad guy in that. You had your debut of Michelle Monaghan as the Hunt girl. Like that's what I kind of call the girls in the Mission Impossible franchise. You know how the Bond you call the girls in them Bond girls. In the Mission Impossible franchise, I always call the girls in the franchise Hunt girls. So, and the Mission Impossible franchise had some pretty good-looking females in there. Whether you talk about Michelle Monaghan, Rebecca Ferguson, Paula Patton, Haley Atwell has just joined the franchise. So yeah, the Mission Impossible franchise they're still going strong. The last time we had a Mission Impossible film was like last year with Henry Cavill as the villain. Then of course we had Ghost Protocol, we had Rogue Nation. I mean, the Mission Impossible franchise has no plans to slow down. Like the next Mission Impossible movie we have coming, won't come out until 2021. Then the next one comes out, I believe, in 2022 or 2023. They're actually shooting the next installments back to back. So yeah, the Mission Impossible films I don't think they'll never slow down. And Tom Cruise will continue to do his own stunts too, because we know how much of a wacko Tom Cruise gets when it comes to this type of stuff. I mean, literally, Tom Cruise literally almost killed himself on the set of the last Mission Impossible film. Like, dude, just hire a stunt double, and like you've got kids and all. Don't quit, man. Like, seriously. But anyway, yeah, the Mission Impossible films they're still really fun to watch, and I never really get bored by them. So, all right, coming in at number 7 is the Die Hard franchise. Now, this is a pop opinion because everyone hated lots of the Die Hard sequels. But I got a kick out of Good Age Die Hard. With Jai Courtney as John McClane's son, I really got a kick out of that one. And Live Free to Die Hard, which also had Kevin Smith in it, by the way, which I always found to be a little weird. You had Justin Long in that. Mary Elizabeth Winston was the play like the daughter. And I got a kick out of Live Free or Die Hard. I mean, it's a pretty fun one. And not to mention, you had Timothy Olyphant as the villain here. Who doesn't love a good Timothy Olyphant villain? But most people contend that the best Die Hard movies are, of course, the first three. Like Part Two, I always found to be that Part Two, directed by Randy Harlan, is like the weakest out of the franchise, but I know it was okay. Of course, the original Die Hard is just iconic. I mean, it was Bruce Willis when he was actually trying, at least, because Bruce Willis lately really does not try at all. Then we, of course, had, not to mention Alan Rickman, of course, played one of the most greatest action villains of all time in Hans Gruber. Then we also had, we of course had Jeremy Irons in Die Hard with a Vengeance, where he actually plays the brother of Hans Gruber. That was pretty cool there too. And in Die Hard with a Vengeance, you had Bruce Willis teaming up with Sam Jackson. Awesome castles right there. So yeah, I really got a kick out of the Die Hard franchise. I mean, they are pretty dumb, but they're really dumb, fun action flicks. I mean, Bruce Willis as John McClane is one of the most iconic action movie stars there is. Yeah, and I know they're also talking about doing another Die Hard movie, but I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. All right, coming in at number 6 is the Avengers. Now, most people probably just go say the MCU in general, but I'm just going to choose one of the franchise out of the MCU, and that is obviously the Avengers franchise. It started with 2012's The Avengers, directed by Joss Whedon, with Tom Hiddleston as the villain Loki. It introduced us to, well, not really introduced us, but it really was a nerd's wet dream to see all those heroes, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, all in one era. Then, of course, we had Age of Ultron with James Spader as the main bad guy. It introduced us to Paul Bettany's Vision. I mean, yeah, Avengers Age of Ultron was pretty good. I mean, I will admit it was probably the weakest out of the Avengers franchise, but I still got kicked out of Age of Ultron. And of course, after Age of Ultron, we got the big ones with Infinity War, and of course Endgame, which Endgame ended up the Infinity Saga, which we'll probably get another Avengers movie down the line, but most likely a different cast. But yeah, I really love the Avengers franchise, and it was a little sad to see Avengers Endgame come to an end and all, but they ended off with a bang. So cannot wait to see where the MCU is going to go from here now. So anyway. And not to mention, we of course got the big bad guy Thanos that came along as well with Josh Brolin as Thanos. I mean, Thanos is a really cool villain right there. So, all right, coming in at number 5 is going to the Expendables franchise. The Expendables are fun action adventure flicks. I mean, you've got Sylvester Stallone as the lead role of Barney Stone. You got some really great cast lists. Like you had Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren, Jet Li, Terry Crews. I mean, some really great cast members here. And Mickey Rourke, of course, played the bad guy in Expendables in the first Expendables. Mickey Rourke was great then. But then came Expendables 2, and I would say Expendables 2 succeeded the first film. I mean, what better enough? You had Jean-Claude Van Damme as the bad guy for Part 2. Van Damme as the villain in Part 2 was great. It was a great addition. And not to mention, you had people like, you even had Chuck Norris come around in the next films. You had, who else came around? Oh yes, Lee Scott Adkins came around, Ronda Rousey, Liam Hemsworth. I mean,
have a great night, brother.
Good, bro. Anyway, yeah, the Expendables. Oh, and by the way, Barney's last name is Ross, not Stone. Why did I throw? Anyway, yeah, not to mention, of course, Part 3 came around. You had you had Mel Gibson as a bad guy. You even had Arnold Schwarzenegger in this franchise. Bruce Willis actually appeared in the first 2. He didn't appear in the Part 3 because he wanted more money, and yeah. That's something you don't do in Hollywood. But yeah, yeah, this franchise had some really solid actors. I'm still hoping forward we get a fourth Expendables, but I don't know if we're really like. I know Sylvester Stallone has teased a fourth one, but I'll believe it when I see it. Because Bonnie Ross is a really cool character. And, I've always I liked his dynamic chemistry with Jason Statham. Their chemistry is great, and yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we still get the Expendables 4. Because Stallone has been talking, but I'll believe it when I see it. All right, now coming in at number 4 is going to another superhero franchise, and that's the Dark Knight franchise. It started with 2005's Batman and Robin. 2005's Batman Begins. Oh, God. Why do I have Batman and Robin in my head for some reason? But it started with Batman Begins, which gave us our introduction to Christian Bale as Batman. You had... then, of course, we got the sequel that came around, which exceeded our expectations. I mean, it was even better than Batman Begins. What better enough... in Batman Begins, you had Cillian Murphy as the villain, Scarecrow, and you follow that with Heath Ledger's amazing performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight. And Heath Ledger, tragically passed away and all, but he scored his Oscar nomination for playing Joker, and he nailed it out of the park. Then, when they announced the third one, I was like, okay, do a third one, but is it going to be as good as Dark Knight? Who knows? Now, Dark Knight Rises isn't as good as Dark Knight, but I still got kicked out of Dark Knight Rises. Anne Hathaway, I thought she was a great Catwoman. You had Tom Hardy as Bane. I thought Tom Hardy's Bane was great. And the Christopher Nolan Batman franchise, and a part of me still wish we got another Batman movie directed by Christopher Nolan, but that's never going to happen. Alright, coming in at number 3 is obviously the Fast and Furious franchise. The first Fast and Furious is, I guess you could say, is a shot-by-shot remake of Point Break, but I still love the original Fast and Furious. It introduced us to Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor. It introduced us to Vin Diesel as Dominic Toretto, as one of the coolest car franchises there is. Then we got the sequels that came after. We had Too Fast and Furious, which didn't have Vin Diesel in it, but it still had Paul Walker with Tyrese Gibson, who I'm not going to trade. I'm not going to a rant about Tyrese being in these films, but don't have any. Anyway, yeah, the Fast and Furious films they're just loads of fun. Then I still say Part 3 is probably the weakest out of the franchise, but I still got kicked out of the Fast and Furious films. It of course gave us our cool introduction to Han, played by Sung Kang. And granted, Vin Diesel only had a cameo in it. He didn't really have that much of a big part to do in Tokyo Drift. You mainly had Lucas Black, Bow Wow was in the third one. Some really cool cast members. Then, of course, we got the Fast and Furious 4, which was pretty cool. I really got kicked out of Fast and Furious 4. Alright. But the Fast and Furious franchise ended up getting much... the first 4, I enjoyed the first 4 at all. But the Fast and Furious franchise got an even better when Dwayne Johnson came on board. Dwayne Johnson as Lucas Hobbs. Probably one of the awesome characters in the Fast and Furious franchise. And like Robert Meyer Burnett says, Fast 5 is the Citizen Kane of Fast and Furious movies, which I agree with him on. 100%. Then Fast and Furious 6 came around. We had Lucas Evans as the main bad guy, Owen Shaw. Then Fast and Furious 6 also suffered a tragic loss. I mean, sadly, wait, but Fast and Furious 6, of course, gave us the tragic loss of Han. I mean, Jason Statham just messed up Han badly, you know. I'm still hoping we get justice for Han, but I don't know if we're ever gonna get justice for Han. Well, I was hoping we'll get one in Hobbs and Shaw, but that didn't happen. But then, of course, Furious 7 came around. Then we had, sadly, it was Paul Walker's final portray of Brian, and Fast Furious 7 will leave you to tears, especially towards the far end. But Jason Statham as Deckard, like some of the villains in Fast and Furious, I never really care much for the villains, but the Shaw brothers have been great. Then we had a Fate of the Fierce. We had Charlize Theron as the main villain. I think the Fast and Furious franchise has been getting much better with their villains, you know. And of course, we just had the spin-off Hobbs and Shaw with Idris Elba as a villain. And the Fast and Furious franchise are never going to slow down. I tell you, we are already getting Part 9 next year. We're going to get Part 10. We're getting a female spin-off, according to Universal. There's also like an animated TV show of Fast and Furious coming. There's theme parks attractions. There's Fast and Furious video games. So Fast and Furious never going to go anywhere. So, yeah. And don't be surprised if Fast and Furious will go in outer space. I guarantee you that's Fast and Furious in outer space is going to happen in their future. Mark my words. So, anyway. Now, coming in at number 2 is obviously the John Wick franchise. I mean, the John Wick movies, they are just some... The John Wick franchise is awesome. You know, when John Wick came around, I really didn't thought the movie was going to be good. I just thought it was going to be like kind of another Keanu Reeves train wreck, because he's been doing some train wrecks lately. So I didn't really expect the first John Wick to be any good and all, but then I saw John Wick and I enjoyed it. I freaking love John Wick. I mean, it proves that you don't mess with another man's dog. I mean, if you have a dog and if a guy has a dog and the dog ends up getting killed, obviously John Wick is gonna go after other people. I mean, you don't mess with another man's dog, you know. And John Wick 2, I thought was even better than John Wick 1. Like, I really got a kick out of John Wick 2. And then, of course, we got John Wick 3 came around. John Wick 3 was even much better than 2 and 1. And John Wick, I mean, Keanu Reeves, it's pretty much his iconic role now. When you think of Keanu Reeves, you don't ever think of Neo anymore. You think of John Wick. And John Wick really got Keanu Reeves, really invented the Keanu-sance, and we're of course getting a John Wick 4 in the next 2 years. We're getting a John Wick TV show, so we're getting more John Wick stuff here on out. So definitely, you gotta love John Wick franchise. And what? That's something burning. Anyway. Alright, now the best action movie franchise of all time, in my opinion.
That place is kind of chill. It's pretty chill.
Anyway, my number 1 favorite action movie franchise of all time is the Lethal Weapon franchise. I mean, you got Mel Gibson as Martin Riggs, Danny Glover as Roger Murtaugh. I mean, the first Lethal Weapon, directed by Richard Donner, scripted by Shane Black, who gave us, The Predator, Nice Guys, and all. The Lethal Weapon franchise are just some of the most fun movies you'll see, and the sequels are even as good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. My favorite out of the sequels has got to be Lethal Weapon 4. I mean, that time around you had Jet Li, you had appearances by Chris Rock, you had appearances by once again Joe Pesci has been in these films. The Lethal Weapon franchise has they're just loads of fun to watch, and Mel Gibson and Dan Glover both have great chemistry for one another. And I've been hearing rumors that we might get a part 5 in the near future. I'll be down to see one. I mean, get Mel Gibson and Dan Glover back, sign me up there. And yeah, the Lethal Weapon franchise. I mean, you even had Rene Russo in lots of these. Stuart Wilson has appeared in these films. Joe Pesci has been great in these movies. Yeah, the Lethal Weapon franchise are definitely the best action franchise in my opinion. And not to mention the TV shows actually was not half bad either. I quite got kicked out of the TV show. But the Lethal Weapon franchise movies, they're awesome. And I'm still hoping we get a fifth one, but I don't know if that's really going to happen. I mean, if they necessarily, I'll believe it when I see it when the Lethal Weapon 5 comes. But yeah. Alright. Now that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. 10, the Taken franchise. 9, Indiana Jones. 8, Mission Impossible. 7, Die Hard. 6, Avengers. 5, The Expendables. 4, The Dark Knight trilogy. 3, Fast and Furious. 2, John Wick. 1, Lethal Weapon. Now, there's loads of other action franchises I probably could have added. Maybe the Jurassic Park franchise is a good one. Maybe... let's see. The Bond franchise has some... Hold on. Anyway. I'll just talk louder. The James Bond franchise have been great. There's, of course, the Bourne films, the Rambo franchise, Mad Max, the Iron Man movies. Some really great action franchises there are, Alright, wait till this firefighter passes by. Anyway, let me leave it to you guys. What are some of your favorite action movie franchises? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is C Movie signing off.